I have had quite a few questions of people from my last minion build on whether or not I've updated my minion build, and the answer is yes. So this is largely inspired by GhazzyTv's minion build. There's a couple of differences. The main difference is I focus on a lot of rarity in this build because rarity is so important. And personally, I think the Storm Mage build right now is perfectly set up to like capture like a high rarity build. Currently, with all of my rarity gear on, I'm rocking a 299% rarity, rarity, increased rarity, and then I'm running a lot of rarity maps and stuff too. So, but let's jump right into the build. This is not a budget-friendly build, but I will talk about a couple of budget-friendly options. There are options where you don't use any of the uniques I'm using, and you don't go negative lightning resist, but that's what we'll be doing in this build. So if you check out my build initially, you'll see that I have negative 113 lightning res, and this could be much higher if I wasn't focused on rarity so much. Also, this is going to go a lot higher when I get my ingenuity belt, which is coming pretty soon. Okay, so to start off with the build, I'm just going to go over the skill gems, and I did make a max roll guide for this build, and I'm going to link that down below. Personally, if I was starting off with minions and I was still running the arsonist minions, I'd probably consider some of the other builds that are out there right now, like the sniper build or the frost build. But I've been running this build for weeks now, and I'm pretty hard committed to it, at least until rarity changes come through. So the first thing is, we're using a rattling scepter, which gives us skeletal warriors. I think most people running minions know that skeletal warriors are basically just fodder for your offerings, which of course I always missed my my offering and I hit a random, mage. But anyways, whenever you're using your offering, you're trying to hit your warriors, which is pretty easy because they're normally at the front of the pack unless you're like surrounded or something. So it can be difficult to hit them. Don't stress about hitting them, but it is when you're running through a map, it's relatively easy. And at the end of this video, I am going to do like a tier 16 map, so just bear with me as we go through this. So on Skeletal Warriors, these are basically just debuff minions. I have Meat Shield just to give them a little bit more max health when they're up front. Of course, when I do the pain offering on them, I kill them. Ruthless, and this just helps the stun build up on enemies. I have increased attack speed, which again just helps with the stun build up on enemies. And then I have Blind on here. You can put on any sort of debuff support you want. I have Blind on to help blind enemies. You could replace a lot of these, like Meat Shield or Ruthless or Martial Tempo with basically whatever you want. The Skeletal Warriors are not the most important minions you have by any stretch of the imagination. One of the most important minions you have is your Summon Infernal Hound. You will get 6 links on your Summon Infernal Hound when you hit level 90. So that's why I have 6 links on this guy. So the first skill on him is Wildfire. And this makes sure when he ignites an enemy, so he's igniting enemies all the time. And so when he's igniting enemies, Wildfire makes it spread to nearby enemies, which is great. They take damage over time, and some of our other negative benefits hit them too. Enemies ignited by support skills have a 60% chance to explode on death. So you're going to see a lot more explosions on your map, and just you kind of got to deal with that with the with the other minions that are also dying. But this helps you do more AOE damage, and you have all those on death effects that are like really scary right now. So just be wary of that. Magnified effect just increases the area of effect of his attack. So if you check out right here, you will see under his Summon Infernal Hound, it'll talk about his attack. It's the ignite spreads after 2 seconds. The radius is 1.5 meters. And if you take out magnified effect, okay, it doesn't affect that one, but it does affect a 1.9 meter radius right here. And if you take out magnified effect, that'll drop down to 1.6 meter radius. So there it is. Coaling Strikes just makes it where enemies die quicker. So because I play with a lot of friends, and because I have the highest rarity in the group, I want to get the kills, so the rarity is my rarity, and Coaling Strike helps with that. So what Coaling Strike does is normal enemies die at 30% or below, magic enemies die at 20% or below health, rare enemies at 10%, and unique enemies, which means bosses, at 5%. So this really helps because my minion is not only doing AoE damage, but he's also igniting people, and this is like an on-hit effect. So basically, every time he attacks, as long as they're below these thresholds, they'll die right away, which makes my rarity a little more often go off. I would love for Coaling Strikes to actually be on my Storm Mages when I'm playing with other people, but Coaling Strikes can't go on Storm Mages, sadly, because they don't do hits, they cast spells. So Maim. This is another just debuff support, so this could also go onto your Skeletal Warriors. And whenever I get another link with my Skeletal Warriors, which I'm not even sure how you do that with the Scepter, maybe you can't. But Maim is another debuffing skill, and what Maim does is they suffer from slower movement speed and they have reduced evasion, so it just makes them easier to hit and it makes them a little bit slower. So your Infernal Hound is a really, really great debuffer and igniter for your enemies. And igniting helps with the shock chance, and it helps when somebody gets shocked, they'll be permanently shocked. So the next skill we're looking at is Pain Offering. Pain Offering is your offering skill. It gives minions more damage, and it gives them more attack and cast speed. So this is just all around. This is your number one go-to skill when you're entering combat. You want to make sure you have this up. We're going to use Persistence to make it last longer. I highly recommend Persistence. I played without Persistence for a long time, and it's not fun, so don't do it. Inspiration, this just makes it where supported skills cost less, and this is really good for Pain Offering. Font of Blood makes it where your minions around the Pain Offering regen health, and you also regen health, I guess, because it's you and your allies. If I linked another thing here, I'd probably put like Font of Rage to give my minions more damage. I'm pretty sure Font of Rage would work on Skeletal Storm Mages. We're going to look at your Skeletal Cleric next. Skeletal Cleric doesn't need any supports. If you want to, you can just leave this totally blank. Neither one of these are needed. But it's basically last gasp, so when they do die, they stay alive for 4 more seconds. And then Elemental Army, which gives them 30% increased resistances to elemental resistances. And it's just like they stay alive. So these both are just like they stay alive longer, they're healing more. And your goal is to run only one Cleric if you can. But if you don't have enough spirit for anything else, you can always run 2. Skeletal Storm Mages. This is I'm gonna jump down past my Skeletal Storm Mages and go over everything else real quick. Eye of Winter. This is your critical. This gives you more critical strike chance. So with Skeletal Mages, they're all about critical strike. So you want to have a good critical strike chance. And what you want to do is you're constantly throwing out these Eye of Winter orbs, which makes the enemies have a higher chance of getting critically struck. So you're going to put Unleash on that, and basically supported spells this one isn't the easiest to explain, but supported spells gain a seal every 200% of cast time to a maximum of 2 seals. Once the spells are unleashed when cast, their effects recur for each seal loss. Supported skills deal 50% less damage when recurring. I'll show you that right here. That's what this little 2 right here means. So basically, as you don't cast this, you see how it says 0, and then it goes back up to 2. Yeah, so that's just an option you have to like gain a little bit more from this. So basically, what I'll do is I'll wait for this 2 to build up, and then I'll cast it again. But basically, what that does is it just makes it where the effects are lasting longer, right? So specifically, we want the critical weakness. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the critical weakness. So it's interesting. So it says critical weakness causes hit targets to be affected have a 0.5% critical hit chance, and you can stack it up to 20 times. So you'll see this. You'll see it underneath the enemies. You'll see a little sparkly icon underneath the enemy health, and it can go up to, and you'll see it go up to 10%, and it'll get up to 10% really fast. It won't take that long because of this. So Scatter Shot is just what makes it do 3 little orbs instead of 1, which just increases the critical, the critical weakness that you're putting on them. And then Acceleration just makes them move faster, right? So it just goes faster. Temporal Chains. Temporal Chains is the least important of your skills you have. You can also put Enfeeble here if you want to, but you can't use Conduction anymore because of the gear we're wearing. So basically, this is Enfeeble or Temporal Chains. I like Temporal Chains because it slows enemies down. I also play with a friend who uses Enfeeble, so we kind of... you can only have 1 curse on an enemy at a time, but, we use 2 different curses anyway. So the Curse Zone from supported skills erupt after 30-second delay, so they just kind of, explode a little bit. And that was Focus Curse. Then we have Hiding Curse, which it's a 25% increased effect of supported curses, so it just enhances the slow. And then we have Hex Bloom, which is really, really good when you're playing against... You basically need Hex Bloom for clear, Because if you use this during clear, when I don't use it very often during clear, actually that's not true, I use it all the time. But basically, this makes it where when you kill an enemy with the curse on it, it spreads to everybody around them, so it's really, really useful to just throw into a group of enemies. There's like a big group, throw it in the middle, kill the stuff in the middle, and then it just spreads to everybody, and all of the enemies are slown. And the final thing we have is Grim Feast. This is super important. Grim Feast makes it where our energy shield will be doubled. So instead of having a 4,300 energy shield, we'll have a 8,600 energy shield. And the most energy shield I've ever had was like up to, I want to say it was up to like 7,000 or something, 7 or 8,000, and I doubled it with this. I have lower energy shield right now because I'm focusing so much on rarity because I like to die a lot. And you can basically not focus on rarity in this build and be a lot stronger. So now let's just look at the gear real quick. Again, I'm focusing heavily on rarity. So let's look at our defenses and our gear at the same time. So you can see my block chances is 75%, and my armor's at 19%. You kind of want your armor around 19-20%, somewhere around there. And then the rest of my resistances, I'm doing my best to get them over 90%. And the reason you want your resist over 90% is because when you get elemental weakness, which is negative 15% to resist, you still stay capped out at 75%, which I actually have 76% max resistances. So what I can do is I need 91% instead of 90%. So your max life is important because we convert max life to spirit and energy shield using our passives on our skill tree. Energy shield is your most important thing for staying alive. Mana isn't very important on your minion build. It's super important like on a Sork or something, or on if you were doing a caster witch, but not on this build. Spirit, you want spirit to be really high. My spirit should be a lot higher. My spirit should be around 450, and I should also be running blink in my build, but I don't want to get rid of 2 minions right now, and blink is super great. So for survivability, run blink and get some more spirit. So the reason my block chance is so important is because of our negative lightning resist. So the reason we have negative lightning resist is for our chest piece, and I do not have the best items in this chest piece as far as soul cores go. I have increased chaos resist. There are a lot better soul cores out there, but you running the additional armor and energy shield and evasion one isn't super important because you're still going to be at 0% evasion, and there's no energy shield on this chest piece. So really, this is like a free slot. But so what this piece of armor does is enemies in your presence have lightning resistance equal to yours. So you're basically just a debuffing bot. And if you play with friends like me who all run lightning builds, you're doing great. You're just running ahead of everybody else. And as long as you're within like 6 meters-ish of an enemy, I think it's 6.5 meters, they'll get your lightning resistances, which will take enemies down to negative 113 lightning resist, which you can easily pump up to like 200. I've had up to negative 140 without an ingenuity belt. With an ingenuity belt, this is going to skyrocket. But then you'll see armor. Armor also applies to lightning damage taken from hits, and then lightning resistance does not affect lightning damage taken. So your lightning resist doesn't affect your lightning damage taken, so you're not actually at negative 113. You're more like at 0% lightning resist, right? So you do not want to get hit by lightning stuff. But because of our passive tree, we have a skill with Infernalist that converts 20% of lightning to fire damage. So our fire damage is going to be absorbing 20%. That leaves the rest of our lightning damage is only being hit by our armor. So 19% armor is not a lot, but 19-20% armor is really as high as you're going to get, and then we have a really high block chance to mitigate some of the other damage we're going to take. So that's why we want a really high block chance. But you'll see later that I've actually been foregoing block chance for rarity. Like right here, this shield I'm going to put on to show you. So that's your major chest piece. The other unique items that make this build work are the rings, the Ventor's Gamble rings. And I have bought probably 10 different Ventor's Gambles rings over time because when I first started doing this build, I was using a Ventor's Gamble ring like this. So it had I was using one more like this right here. So this has negative 32 lightning resist, negative 17 fire resist, 43 cold resist, and then 19% reduced rarity of items bound. So really bad ring. It's reducing my rarity, and it has negative fire. And slowly over time, I was able to get like a ring like this where it's like -40, +1 fire, -33 cold. So I would wear these rings on different fingers, and I'm basically just having, at that point, I have positive, 10 lightning resist or 10 cold resist for my rings. And then I still have -16, so I got to make that up somewhere else in my gear, which isn't too hard. But over time, slowly, you can make your gear better by getting increased rarity. So then I would find negative lightning and negative fire with increased rarity. So slowly over time, I would get better rings. And then, like right here, -38 lightning, -39 fire. Like that's a really bad ring too. And then eventually, I was able to get rings that had lower increased rarity, so only 24 increased rarity, but you also have the 14% increased rarity up top. Still has negative lightning resistance, not the most negative, but still negative. But it has positive fire, right? And then this one has positive fire, positive cold, -39 lightning resist, and then 20% increased rarity of items found. So this is like an almost perfect ring for us. And then what we want to do with these rings is we want to do a quality on them. So we want to do a lightning quality, and how you do that is you need to find the item. I think it's a blue item. Here it is. It's called Esh's Catalyst, and this adds quality that enhances lightning modifiers on rings or amulets, and it replaces other quality types. So you can put you can increase your rings by 20% quality, which will actually lower the lightning resistance even more on these rings, which is really nice. So if I hold Alt on these rings, you'll see this ring initially was only a -33 lightning resist, and by putting a +20 quality lightning modifier on it, I was able to take it to a -39 lightning resist, right? And so obviously the higher those are, the more it'll do. So on this ring, it started as a 20, but it only went to 24 because the quality didn't affect it as much. So one of my goals in the future would be to get a better ring for this spot. But at the end of the day, you're just working towards positive on everything except for lightning resist, and then build from there. So, on your necklace, what you want, and again, I don't have a good necklace, I've allocated flashy deflection. And this is going to help with my shield defenses, and it's going to help me get that block that I need, that 12% increased block chance. You got to work a lot on block chance with flashy deflection and with jewels in your skill tree, which we'll get to. So this necklace, you want spirit on your necklace. You want increased energy shield, which I don't have, because I went for the rarity, the 21% rarity. By getting 21% rarity, I gave up minion levels, which can go up to 3, and I also gave up spirit and more energy shield. So spirit, energy shield, health, and anything else you need, like strength or anything, get on your necklace. Your necklace is a really good flex slot to kind of fill in the gap, but you really want +2, +3 to level of minions. Your helmet can get up to +2 level of minions. Again, you'll see I only have +1 level, but you want, the most important thing on your helmet is you want as much energy shield as you could possibly get on your helmet, right? I think the best helmet I've ever seen had like 324. I probably still have that helmet laying around somewhere. Or maybe I sold it. But anyways, I gave up a better helmet to get rarity on this helmet. So, like, it's not the end of the world, but it is, like, think about it. It's up to you. I like the rarity. They're definitely going to nerf rarity later, but, I like to play with it right now when it's still good. For the gloves, gloves are really a flex slot. You don't have anything you need on your gloves. You're not going to get a lot of energy shield out of your gloves, so increase % energy shield, increase the max energy shield, max life. You don't really need max mana, but cold resist, fire resist, dexterity, strength, whatever you need to fill in the gaps on your attributes. And then I also have a little bit of rarity on this. Your belt's a really big place where you can get big, chunky stats for cheap. So this belt, for example, has 99 life, which is a low life roll on a belt, I admit. And the more life you have, the better your passives do for the Infernalists. But I have over 90, I have just under 89, 89% cold and fire resist on this. So that's really, really chunky cold and fire resist on this belt. And I'm going to replace this belt with an Ingenuity eventually. And once I replace it with an Ingenuity, it's going to boost these rings like crazy. So once I get it, like, Ingenuity is your big upgrade for this. Because once you get an Ingenuity here, it's game over. So the next item is your shoes, which most important thing, movement speed, 35% movement speed, absolutely. increased energy shield, plus to max energy shield, plus to max life. I have increased rarity found because I didn't need any more cold or fire resist. So I just got plus increased rarity and 4% chaos resist, and then I threw some more chaos resist in the top of it. Not bad at all. The next thing is your scepter. Your scepter, you can either run an Omen Scepter or a Rattling Scepter. Your Omen Scepter will give you Malice, which is a critical, like, it's an aura that gives you increased critical damage to allies around you and stuff. And so it helps your skeletal mages hit harder. But then you also have to start sacrificing skeletal mages instead of skeletal warriors for your pain offering, which again, not the end of the world, but it's just a choice you can make. The worst thing that could happen is you accidentally, I just realized we didn't go over the skeletal mages, so we'll get back to that. But the most important stuff on a scepter are going to be increased spirit, so as high as you can possibly get on increased spirit. The next thing is minion skills. Actually, the most important thing is minion skills. +4, +5 to minion skills, or +3 if it's out of your price range. And then increase to spirit, so as high as you can get increased to spirit. I got a cat over here just messing around. But as high as you can get to increase spirit, then you want as much increased damage as you can get. So allies in your presence still increase damage. After that, it's all about increased cast speed, increased critical damage, increased critical chance. Right? So those are really the things you want on your scepter. So again, plus the minion levels, percent increased spirit, increased damage, increased cast speed, increased critical chance, increased critical damage. Okay? So that all works well. So what I actually do is I actually wear this shield. This is like a much more expensive shield when you get there. You'll see my block chance went down to 44%. My armor went up a little bit. And my chaos res went down quite a bit, down to 42%. But this shield is a Machinations. I'm not going to try to say that dude's name. But this basically gives me like 100 rarity because it's 600% increased effective socketed soul cores. And then I put 2 rarity soul cores in it, which each one of these soul cores, last time I checked, was 300x. And then the shield itself was a couple divine or something. To buy a shield exactly like this, though, is like 9 divine or something. It's not like super expensive, but it's not cheap. Let me go ahead and put this shield away. Let's go back to our minions real quick so we can see our Storm Mages. So you have 2 different Storm Mage setups. You have your damaging Storm Mage setup, which is this one right here, the level 28. And then you have your Shockbot Storm Mage. I like to only run 1 Shockbot, but you could run 2 if you want to. But your Shockbot Storm Mage, his only job is to apply shock to enemies. And you're going to use Conduction, so supported skills have a 100% increased chance to shock. You're going to run Overcharge, which a 75% increased magnitude of shock deflected, so increased like the actual effect of it. And actually, it says 50% decreased duration, but I don't think you actually have to worry about decreased duration because of, like, there's something else in our build where, like, if enemies are ignited, they'll stay shocked forever. So our doggy up here igniting people is really good. And then you have Stormfire. So shocked enemies from supported skills. So this is what makes that happen. Stormfire. Shocks from supported skills do not expire on ignited enemies. So our doggy igniting our enemies makes it where our shock basically lasts forever. Now we have our damaging minion, the Storm Mages, and this one you want to get a 6 link as quick as you can, and you want it to be your highest. So I have a level 20 skill gem with a 6 link, and then I have plus 6 levels from global modifiers and 2 from support. The biggest damage increase I could do to this minion would be to get more minion levels on my amulet, my helmet, and my scepter. The first skill is Feeding Frenzy, which is just they do 30% more damage, but they take 20% more damage. Supported skills, 25% increased cast speed, so they cast quicker. You have Elemental Focus, which is they do 25% more elemental damage, but they can't inflict elemental ailments. Elemental ailment is shock, right? And electrocute. So we don't care about shock and electrocute because we have a shock bot for that, right? So we do 25% more damage. Cool, let's go. And then the last 2 are just plus to the levels of the skill gem. So you have Minion Mastery, which is +1 to level. And you also have Lightning Mastery, which is +1 to the level. So that is all of our gems and stuff. And let me just very quickly, my sheet DPS for this minion is 7,400 damage per minion. And they cast 1.36 times per second. So basically, this is your damage per second, this is your damage per cast, because they're casting more than once a second. And critical damage bonus is 170%. You can see my critical hit chance is only 18%, but I boost that in other ways. I've seen this number go up to 11,000. So you could get 11,000. We don't use Deathstorm. Deathstorm, it seems to do all this damage, like 40,000 damage. We don't use it. I've never used it once. And then you'll see, if you go to minion info, you'll see on kill effects, and you'll see my rarity is 299 with my shield. If I take my shield off, it goes down to 159. So that's why I wear the shield, because this shield has a lot of rarity on it. But of course, as stated previously, I'm losing a lot of my survivability, and so it can get really, really dangerous. So I think that's pretty much it going over the actual build that I'm running. Now let's go ahead and get into a... we're going to do a tier 16 map. It's going to be a really basic tier 16 map. We're going to have elemental weakness, which means we do less elemental damage. But I actually don't know if this matters at all, because... oh no, elemental weakness means that we have negative 15 elemental resist. So that's actually not too bad for us, because we'll still have max cold and fire resist, but we'll also have more negative lightning resist, which is good for us, because then we kill the enemies with our negative lightning resist. Now, this map is my least, so you'll see we still have... Oh, we don't actually have cap fire resist for some reason. If I had my other shield, I'd have cap fire resist. So that's actually really bad, because remember, 20% of our lightning damage comes from... So see that lightning right there? There is nothing you want to be hit with less than lightning damage. Like, if you see lightning on the ground, you need to... If you see an enemy doing lightning stuff, you need to peace out. Now, if you have Blink, you can be much more survivable. But you can see with Grim Feast, I've already doubled my energy shield. And now the name of the game is just kind of staying back and pop your curses. I should have popped that on my other guys, but I'm, trying to, like, talk and do this at the same time. Sometimes I mess up. So that's a lightning enemy. So I don't want to be anywhere near that guy, right? I don't want to be near his court and another lightning enemy, and a lot of lightning enemies in here. So this is, like, hands down, Ball Factory is one of my least favorite maps, period. You can actually see behind us, we just had a dude shoot. So these little dudes right here can cast lightning, and just and see their little buggies explode too. And you can just see we are dealing with a ton of lightning damage in here. And if I survive, which there's a chance I won't survive this, but I'm not going to cut it out and do another tier 16. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to get hit by any of that lightning. So we're playing very defensively to the point where I'm not even debuffing these enemies, right? And the boss of this place actually does a ton of lightning damage too. The boss of this place is like one of my least favorite bosses. Ball Factory in general is one of my least favorite maps to play as this build, which is actually, I guess, kind of neat that we got this. See all this lightning stuff? Yeah. Them ball boys, they love chaos damage and they love lightning damage, right? So, if you get close to an enemy, how you can tell that your debuff is on them is underneath their health bar on the right-hand side, you'll see a little red arrow, or sorry, a little red lightning bolt. And that's how you know you're close to them. If you look at them when you're far away from them, you'll see there is no negative lightning resist. So that's how you tell if you have negative lightning resist, is from that little arrow to the right. That'll tell you what they're buffed at. Like if it's a golden symbol, like let's say they have gold lightning, it means that they actually take decreased lightning damage. So these dudes can actually shoot lightning beams out from their big old lasers, so we want to make sure we're avoiding those. And if you're running this build with a lot of rarity, like I am, you have to play so defensive. If you're running it with the shield that I showed you earlier instead of a rarity shield, you can actually be a lot more aggro because you're not very worried about fire damage. Or sorry, you're not as worried about lightning damage because you have a high block chance, which, block is great until you don't block an attack that one-shots you, right? So, yeah, block is really good until that one attack that just, like, one-shots you, and then it's like, oh, well, I didn't block that attack, so that's great. The biggest thing I would say, if you have everything else really high and you just keep seeing yourself die, like, let's say you have a high block chance, you have all your elemental resist capped out except for lightning, obviously, you can actually just work on, your energy shield. Your energy shield just acts as 4 health, and you actually get more energy shield from having more max health from our ascendancy tree, which I'm just now realizing I didn't actually show you. But the ascendancy tree will be in the max roll, and I will discuss it in a second. So, let's kill these dudes. Oh shit, chaos enemies. Or sorry, corrupted enemies, rather. Okay, so really quickly, let's look at the energy shield. And I didn't look at the skill tree in general, but it's on the max roll, so just go check it out. And you'll see the ascendancies down here. First thing I take is Loyal Hound, because he takes 20% of your damage, which is great. Then you take 20% of cold damage, 20% of lightning damage converted to fire, which is fantastic. And then you take 20% of physical damage as chaos damage, so you would just want to stack your fire resist as high as you can get, which obviously I haven't done in this map. Reserve, so these next two, the first one you want to take is reserve 25% of your max life for more spirit. And then, so if you have 2,500 max life, you'll have 100 extra spirit. And then this one is 25% of max life for extra energy shield. So you get 1 energy shield per 8 max life you have. So here's the boss. Let's just go ahead and fight this boss. I do not know if I will survive this. Got a little bit of chaos damage coming through my shield. See all that lightning? The best hope I have right here. Meant to hit my minion. The absolute best hope I have right here is that my minion. So you can see the top. Oh shit! You can see on the top right that that red lightning bolt. That means that he has actually got my negative resistances, and you can see a gold fire and gold ice, and that means that he is immune to those. So we just want to make sure that we are keeping our pain offering up, and we are, you know, so the damage here is really good. So I killed this guy before he could really do anything to me. So that's the goal right there, is to just do enough damage that you don't have to worry about the enemy hitting you. But this is still a really dangerous map, and we'll finish running through until we get at least map completion. So that was probably as dangerous of a boss as you could possibly get. This is not the most dangerous map, though. The most dangerous map would be like if I was stacking Delirium. If you stack a lot of Delirium, do like a bunch of breaches and stuff, and you just get surrounded by enemies that sunlock you. Getting sunlocked in this build is what kills me most of the time. The only other thing that kills me is like one-shots, like lightning enemies can just like fucking one-shot you. Okay, so cast lightning storms, this is really bad for me. So you just have to pay that extra attention to, you know, where these lightning storms are coming down. And then our goal is, you can, and hey, don't feel the need to sit here and actually do this, you know? If you get a really bad one like this, just leave it. You know, you don't have to do this. I might die here. You know, I die, I lose my 5% of XP that I've gained in this level. And, but my minions, your minions can be really, really bad about following you. So just, it's something you're going to have to get used to, controlling your minions. Now, there are ways to kill them and resummon them where you want them to be. I don't actually suggest doing some of them, because people have had a lot of issues with crashing games and stuff. But it's not that big a deal. Like you can bar swap, or you can pain offering a minion, and then like see I started the death timer right here on the top. And if I run away, all my minions that died will instantly respawn on me when that death timer resets. So you can like kill one minion with pain offering, and then run away from all your other minions, and then they'll die because you're too far away from them, and then they'll just instantly respawn on you. It's just one option. Those little cannon guys can be pretty dangerous too. Okay, I'm realizing now that my mic is actually pretty far away from my face, so I hope that came out all right. Oh, shit. See, like a guy like this? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Vol Factory complete. This is my Vol Factory was my least favorite map for a long time. I'm trying to think. My least favorite map now is probably Auguary, or Seepage. I think those are both kind of similar. The reason being is I think a lot of people, I don't mind the lever as much as the layout of it just crushes me, and they have these enemy types that aren't good, like these enemy types that just like dominate me. Like, it's absurd. Okay, so that was pretty much it on this build. Let's go back to town And now that we're done with this, that was a tier 18 Vol Factory. It wasn't juiced up. It wasn't anything crazy. There was no delirium on it. And delirium, I don't mean a delirium node. I mean, there wasn't like the delirium, you know, I didn't put delirium on it with guilts. Okay, so looking at my skill tree really, really fast, you can see that I go up and I take the basic, you know, minion increase max life, minion this. I take the max energy shield, melding, and insightfulness. I go up here to get increased minion revive. Minion revive is definitely underrated. Some people really go hard for it, and some people hate it. Then I come up here. I take this tree very last. So I actually shouldn't. I need to get rid of this node and put it over here to give my minions more max life. But then we come over here. This is why you want as much energy shield as you can on your equipped helmet, because there's a 70% increased energy shield from equipped helmet, which is huge. We've got 40% increased energy shield, and we come over here. We have more max resistances, plus some attack nodes, so attack and cast speed. Revive 20%, 25% faster, huge. Increased area of effect and the cooldown recovery rate. So the increased area of effect is mostly going to be for your infernal hound. So then then you got these critical nodes, and remember, critical nodes are really important for your storm mages. They're really good. We got 22% increased elemental resistances plus 3% to all max elemental resistances. We have a big intelligence node, another decent sized intelligence node, 8, 8, 25, and then we have your big energy shield node, which is 60% increased energy shield, but it does slow down the start of the energy shield recharge, which we don't care about as much because we're running Grim Feast, so we're getting our own energy shield. This is just an energy shield area right here, so you can grab this to get 25% increased energy shield, plus this is why I have 76 to my max elemental resist on fire and cold. And then these are all just more increased energy nodes, so if you need more energy shield, you can take 2 more right here. You can also take like damage recouped as life, which is something I don't take. Moving over here, you just have your basic minions. This is the must-have for any minion build, Lord of Horrors. And then going down this side, we've got our elemental resistances for our minions. We have increased damage for minions, and then we have increased max life for minions. So this is a really strong minion node. Here is how our shield gets max block when we had our other shield, right? So 100% increased defenses from equipped shield, 60% increased, you know, armor from equipped body armor, and energy shield from equipped body armor. So this isn't as important, but I do like it for that increased armor from the body armor. And then this is more increased block chance. So when we're running our actual shield, not this shield, but the other shield that gives us high block chance, we also need jewels. Every single jewel I have has 3 to 7% increased block chance, and then increased defenses from equipped shield. These 2 nodes you're going to need on every single jewel you have for the increased block chance. If you're not focusing on increased block chance like me, you could change these jewels out for more minion damage and stuff like that, which I absolutely should focus on minion critical and minion damage, but I don't. So that's pretty much it for the build. There's really not much more to say about it. I would definitely try it out if you haven't tried it. It can get a bit pricey once you get past the Dorianis. This shield right here is not at any stretch of the imagination low budget, but everything else here can be pretty low budget. Ventor's Gamble Rings, bad Ventor's Gamble Rings that still have negative lightning res are pretty cheap right now, like really, really cheap. Like I have a couple that are like 10 chaos or 10 exalts. So pretty easy to get. A staff like this is going to be relatively expensive, but this is still a bad staff. This is not a good staff. This is a bad helmet. This is a bad amulet. I'm running super unoptimized stuff just to focus on rarity. So you can actually do this build for relatively cheap if you take all the rarity out of it. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you have a different build, let me know. The max roll is going to be linked below. I've never done a max roll before, so I hope it works. And thank you so much, and I'd love any comments or any suggestions on how you would change the build, how you would get more rarity, anything like that. So I'll talk to you later, and thank you for tuning in.